This assignment, I'll be explaining how to go through the different templates and maybe choose one that's appropriate for whatever you're using. Just kind of an explanation of all the templates that Google Sheets has. So with Google Sheets, I think it's like a pretty easy way of like keeping yourself organized rather than like creating a document to give information to somebody like on Word or like a PowerPoint slideshow to like maybe educate someone on something. I think this is a little more like keeping things in organized, keeping things in check, maybe giving out information to other people about like events or dates and times or budgeting or anything like that. So the first one we're going to look at is a to-do list. So personally, I think this would probably be my favorite if I were to use Google Sheets for this kind of stuff because first of all, you could print any of these out and like have it with you, and like the templates are like pre-made formats for Google Sheets, so they look very nice, but you can change the color of all of this kind of stuff too if you wanted. But it has all of them listed on the side, so they're all numbered, and you can change the title, to-do list, or like maybe like weekly chores or something like that, and you can add the dates on them, and as you go, you can check them off if you open up the document, and it'll highlight that you're done with it, and it'll scratch through kind of like you would on pencil and paper if you made a to-do list and you were to scratch through it, and it'll let you know at the top here, 1 out of 3 completed or 2 out of 3 completed. It's just a very easy way of keeping yourself in check, especially if someone has bad time management or you have a big week coming up with a bunch of tests or assignments or things like that due in class, if you're in school, or for work, maybe you're at an event and you have to get things done or things like that. So I think that that's a pretty good template to look at. The next one we're going to look at is calendar. I'm just going to select a few that I think would be most helpful. The calendar on Sheets is pretty similar to the one, the actual Google Calendar, app that's similar to Sheets and Slides and things like that. But on Sheets, it's got a little bit of a different setup, but overall, it pretty much does the same thing. So this is what it looks like, and again, you can change the color, things like that if you wanted to. The cells are a little smaller because the information is a little more condensed if you're looking at it in this view. So this would be like a year's view, but at the bottom of your document, down here, you can select the month to look at alone. So like now we're in February. You can select it to look at it this way, and if you wanted to add in an event, let's say on Valentine's Day, you had a date planned, you could type in there, date at 7, and it would save there. So if you had like your whole month, or maybe even like your whole year, or whatever it might be planned out, you could type in all your information on here and print it out. That way, if you didn't have access to your computer, or if you could not have your computer with you for a certain event or function or something, and you could have the paper, you'd have it all with you, or print it out to give it to people for them to keep like as a hard copy. It's a pretty easy way to do something like that. And then once that loads, you can select just the whole template gallery, and it'll give you a bunch more to scroll through and look at. Another one that I think is pretty easy to use would be the schedule. So I feel like this would be a pretty good template to open up maybe if you ran a business and you needed to make a schedule, like a work schedule for somebody to come in, whatever it might be. So it's set up, this is how you could change for whatever reason, it has it preset to 2000, but like it says week of, you can set it to, it'll pull up the little calendar here, and you can scroll through the different months, or you can just type it in yourself. Let's do this. This week coming up is going to be the 25th, 2019. And once you do that, it automatically will update here, as you can see, for you. It'll update the whole week. So like I said, you can change, the title of this here, like maybe like work schedule for whatever business you might have, or event schedule for a certain week if you're at a conference or something, and you can just type in, different events that might be going on at different times throughout the week so everybody can know. And like I said before, this is another one you can just print out, hand out to everybody, maybe post it on a bulletin board, something very easy, and it's already preset so you don't have to go through the trouble of making columns and rows with different colors and times, and so it's already preset for you. Let's see. Another one that I think is pretty cool and pretty easy would be this. So like this is like a pros and cons sheets list. So up at the top it's already labeled as pros and cons, and they have it preset for like travel destinations. So maybe you couldn't decide on, you're trying to decide on 2 different places to go, and maybe like the budgets were pretty similar, you know, you're going to be spending the same amount of money, but they have different things to do in different places. You can literally set the weight for the different things, like the good things about this place, the bad things about this place, and then the good things about this place, the bad things about this place, or you know, so on and so forth about different places. And you can set the weight at something different, like if it was a really good thing or like a really, really bad thing, and it'll literally weigh the difference for you. So if you were making a big decision, maybe for your company, or maybe even something like this, if you couldn't decide on a travel destination, it'll literally weigh out the pros and cons for you. So you can see what would honestly be the better choice. You can add in maybe some totals here, like for money, or traveling distance, or like how long you would have to take off of work, something like that. So I think that's a pretty good template to use as well. I think it's a very interesting thing for Google Sheets to have, but also very convenient and efficient. And another one I also think is very cool is wedding planning, because I mean, weddings happen all the time, and a lot of people honestly struggle with things to do, or of knowing what to do to plan a wedding, because I mean, like, it is a wedding, it's a pretty big deal. But this is a very easy way of keeping all of your things in check, making sure that all of your things are being done, like you have the location scheduled, the venue booked, any gifts, seating charts for the guests if your wedding's that big, a guest list, you know, so you make sure that you send out all the invitations to the right people, things like that. So like if you had to meet with like the bridesmaids, let's say, or something, you could type up all the information on here and actually hand it out to somebody. I think that's what I like most about the templates on Google Sheets, is because it's like already pre-made for you. You just have to put your own information on it, and then it's easy to give out to other people if you have to, and you don't have to print them out. Like if you want to just send it by email, you could always do share and give it out to everybody like that, so you know that they would have it on their computer and in their hand if they had to. And similar to the calendar one, you can select the different things at the bottom, like a to-do list, like, you know, make the guest list, create a wedding website if you're into that sort of thing, or interview photographers for your big day, coordination, you know, kind of like an address book, like to keep in check with like maybe the person who's making the cake, or just different things like that. So all of these things are here at the bottom. It's just very, very convenient for keeping all of your information in check here. But those are just a bunch of templates that you can use. They have so many different ones for whatever you might need to use it for, like employee shift schedule, an expense report, that's pretty important. Different things like that, invoices if you need to do that for work. There's just a lot of different templates for many different things, and a lot of them are very self-explanatory. So it's not hard for people who maybe struggle with making their own documents.